Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Esteban. So Esteban, welcome.
Hey, how are you?
Good man. Can you please tell us your full type?
Yeah, so it's ENTJ, TSE, play consume, sleep blast, and double feminine.
All right, sweet man. And then when you got your typing results back, what did you think and how did you feel?
Okay, so I got at the end of December, and I gotta admit that it wasn't like a huge surprise because I kind of tried to process every single type to not get, a jump scare or something, anything like that. So yeah, I did consider that type, even though most people saw uh, you know, filler instead of thinking. But yeah, I wasn't too surprised either. Yeah.
All right.
Mm.
Um, so I like how you just gave me a sensory report, very ST of you. um, so why don't we start with that since that's kind of like the most obvious one here. So you are an SETE lead, block banger is what they call it, but essentially you have you know, you like to do sensory reports.
Yeah.
And part of ST play is also doing work with the tribe, so collaboration when it comes to work. Can you
Mhm.
share a little bit how you like or dislike tribe collaboration, perhaps more in like the more sensory sense where it's more physical, or more like the doing sense where you're trying to achieve something physical, concrete. Um so and then also gathering facts from the tribe. So can you share a little bit about that?
Gathering facts. I think it's something so natural to me that I cannot like process it or exactly give an example of how I do it because I kind of do it like without thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tend to really kind of go for the uh tribe activities very often. Like I tend to do a lot of things with my friend groups. For example, I kind of always am the one planning or the one going for, you know, activities that kind of englobe us all. So yeah, so I really like, working as a team, and I think it kind of also fuels me because when I have to do stuff on my own, I really am, you know, I do a lot, and I don't do too well. I just need to have someone else that I kind of can not help, but also can, when I feel like there's someone else like with me, it's a lot easier to do it because I don't feel I kind of feel compromised with for them, not only because I have to do the work, because otherwise there's not going to be my main goal, and it has to be like some sort of goal for me to do stuff with excitement, with possibilities.
Your play is also double feminine, so
Yeah.
how, so maybe that one you can see more obviously. Can you share a little bit about like the double feminine side of your play?
I mean, I guess people really perceive me as someone which is, I guess very feminine in that sense. I mean, maybe in the sense of sweetness or not pushiness. And maybe when I get, more confident with people, that's when I start to push, um, because that's my my TI and my sleep, and yeah, I get more confident, I get more aggressive, more aggressive in when more confident, yeah. So yeah, I always try to go and be really careful with people when it comes to, you know, saying stuff, especially if I just met them, or um yeah, always um kind of trying to read what they think, or if they're going to like the activity, or if they don't like it, I kind of always go for some sort of possibility, or alternative thing for them to do, because I don't want them to, you know, do something um they dislike, or But yeah, I really value, or really go um for something that kind of includes us all. I don't like people who kind of just say, I don't feel like it, I don't feel like it, I don't want it, to do this thing together. And it just bugs me. Like I feel like I'm I completely respect, yeah, people who do that because maybe you don't like the activity, or I just don't feel like, doing stuff with people together, like at that moment, or, in time. But, I just feel really uncomfortable when someone is uncomfortable in that sense.
I see.
Hmm.
Very decider of you, of course.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next animal. Your next animal is consume. It's SF consume. It's double activated. So this is your double activated animal. So you're gonna come across as very ESFP like as a result of like double activated SEFI.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about your experience with like that SF sleep or SF consume, sorry, and like your like what are you consuming with that SF consume? Like what do you normally consume? And it's double activated, so
I mean,
clearly you're probably using it a lot. So
yeah, I mean, it's basically, it's basically anything I like. Like, really, I tend to always go for the, I wouldn't say the more interesting things when it comes to facts, but what I really like in general. I tend to go for the, and I don't know if I would say like aesthetics, but it's true that, for example, when I'm on Instagram, I don't usually or barely ever, post. Instead of that, I am always going for the, for art, memes, and all sorts of things, instead of, doing anything that is supposed to be doing in social media when it comes. Yeah. I don't share anything like stories or posts at all. I just, yeah, I just gather things. I just save them for later, have them, in a file. And I don't know, just like play, I feel like it's something that is so natural that I really cannot explain in detail because it's so obvious to me. I spend most of my time in YouTube. Like, it's something so mechanical at this point that I just sometimes, I don't realize I just got into YouTube and I got into a video without even, reading the title. I just get into the video and it's like, having it on the background. It's just something I just cannot help,
right, it's automatic.
Hmm.
Is it you can't explain because it's automatic, or it's because you're blast last? Because that's two different.
I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah. Okay, it's all good. So just making fun of you. Let's go with sleep next.
Okay.
Your sleep is double masculine. So
Yeah.
you have a very interesting stack here because like your first one is the savior, but it's double feminine, right? So when something's double feminine, that's like the thing that you have the least confidence with, but it's
Mhm.
like your first, so you're using a lot. So from repetition, it's gonna get better. Like I'm the same as you, have double feminine play also, right? Um, so and then your second one is double activated, right?
Yeah.
So you're using a lot, and then your third one is double masculine. So you're pretty balanced in the sense. This is a
Yeah.
good. So double masculine NF sleep.
Hmm.
Um, can you share a little bit about this, and I'll throw out some
Yeah.
information for you to also explain after. So, but let's hear your.
Yeah. Worry. So the way I see my sleep is mainly, I don't know, I just thought about it when I got my type back, and it just did make a lot of sense because I feel like I spend a lot of time uh processing stuff, and in that sense I also spend a lot of time overthinking stuff. So when it comes to my identity and how I perceive myself, I always try to become my best self. So I'm always going for, I try to gather a lot of things from different people about me and how I can improve all the time. I'm always going for the improvement. And when it comes to my inner world, I can get very, very, you know, uh, very lost because it's so deep, and I get into a lot of topics. I kind of even dissociate, in that sense. And yeah, and another thing that I realized is, you know, I love to draw, and when it comes to drawing, I feel like I put a lot of my NF that was masculine sleep in it because when I'm feeling, better, especially when I'm feeling, not okay, I tend to always naturally go to drawing to kind of, as a way to compensate. And everything I create, be either like drawing or writing or poetry, because I do all of them, it's always very metaphorical. But when it comes to me, it's really SST. Like I always, I will give the entire sensory, but when it comes to creating, and when it comes to, putting my process state or what I think or what I feel, in something, it's always very, very, very metaphorical. And you have to ask me for the meanings, because otherwise you're not going to figure them out, I think. Yeah. So
I that makes sense. So I guess when you draw, it's very abstract. That's why it's NF. Also, you're tester and visual, so you have a lot of visual also in you. We'll talk about your sexual modalities in a bit, because it's out since we started this talk. You do a lot of visual stuff. So
I do.
yeah. Like the way you explain things was kind of like very visual. Like, when drawing, for example, right? Or Instagram earlier, when you're talking about Instagram or YouTube, and it's feminine sensory, because you don't remember how you even got there, but you just so yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Let's cover a different dimension of like the NF sleep, because I think this is the big one. First one is, do you have any code or mantra that you adhere to, that you listen to, like a quote or something? I'll give you some examples, and then maybe you can give me something. And if yours is in Spanish, that's also okay. Just give it to me in Spanish and then explain what it means. But like, so I'll give you some examples of people the same quadra as you, and like kind of what they said. Okay, so Steve Jobs, his code is stay curious, stay foolish, which I think is very good for an INTJ, because IJs in general, they have a box, right? And they don't want to leave the box for something new. So by him saying stay curious, that means you should go explore for something new. So that's a very good thing to say for IJs. And then the second part that he said is stay foolish. So being foolish means like, accepting chaos. If you're foolish, something bad can happen, right? So so that's also good for an IJ, because he's letting chaos in his life, and so it's very growth mindset for like an INTJ to have that code. Another example is Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States. So she's an ENTJ like you are, but she's consumed last. So her code is be joyful warriors, right? So I think she understands that extrovert thinking is very harsh, and sometimes it doesn't, like, it's not like nice, because it's like, let's just get to work, screw your feelings, right? But like when she say joyful warriors, it's like, yeah, let's go fight for the right thing, but let's have fun while we're doing it. So let's, making it like fun instead of just like PE, like work, So and then so my girlfriend, she's an INTJ also. Hers is discomfort over resentment. So it means like, that's a good one, right? It's like, it's better to feel uncomfortable than to resent that person later on, right? So like, maybe there's something you want to say to someone, and you really need to say it, but then if you don't say it, later on you're gonna hate yourself, right? So it's better to just say it, even if it's gonna be a bad situation after. So those are just some examples of like NF sleep code that like that you would follow. So do you have anything that you personally like think it's like, oh yeah, I this is the one I live my life by, this is like the code, when you make a major decision, you always refer back to this code? Yeah, go for it.
Even if I think about it, I don't think I have any like specific one, but I have a lot of a lot of stuff that I kind of process, and I have learned throughout time when it comes to when I've been realizing my my flaws and stuff I did and stuff that was hurting me without even knowing it. I am I've been like learning a lot of things from inside me, and also gathering from other people. So in that sense, I don't think I have a mantra, like something that I kind of is adaptable for anything that happens in my life. But I do have a lot of things. As for example, you know, always staying like true to oneself, for example. And yeah, especially because, you know, also boundaries, and, you know, yeah, because I mean, for example, yeah, I know I'm being so blast right now. I'm sorry.
Hey man, people want to see what a blast is like. You're showing exactly what a blast is like.
Yeah,
So perfect.
I know. Sorry, I just speak very fast sometimes, and I just have to kind of try to go slower and so. But I know, you know, the masculine intuition plus the blast doesn't help. So yeah. So yeah, and I think most of them, like most of the you know, sentences I kind of process myself all the time, are mostly related to identity, because of, you know, I mean, it's pretty obvious because I'm an EJ, you know. So yeah, not letting, you know, others kind of step on it, you know, being, you know, having more self-respect, because I feel like throughout my life I've let that like really you know, be stepped on as much as, you know, as it wanted. So now I think I have improved a lot in that sense. I think I still have a lot of work to do, you know, but, you know, in that sense I feel like a lot more in peace, I think.
We'll talk about that later, your identity, because that we'll
Yeah.
cover. Let's go over the last animal now. Blast last. It's
Okay.
Niteni. So it's NT. It's your last, but it's your first two functions. So technically, if you practice it, it has the highest potential to be the best of your animals, because using your two strongest functions. You know, but you know, your animal stack has a preference on which animals to use first. So it's kind of interesting how that works. It's like even though your strongest is the first two, your animal says use it last. So it's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
And as a result, you don't get practice, even though technically you can get really good at it. So what has your experience been like with that NT blast last? Like, does it ever come out, or rarely, or just like maybe in school or something, or work, or I don't know?
I think it tends to come out, you know, often, but yeah, I think I don't do it like so well. I'm, you know, the funny thing about it is that I love to teach people things, but when it comes to you know, teaching, I get yeah, I feel like it's not something that is really solid in that sense. So when I explain it, I feel like I leave a lot of gaps open, and it's not so clear because I kind of tend to go for, you know, OE, and, you know, it. So I kind of just not get to the point. I never get to the point. I never do conclusion. So people just you know, I don't know how to explain it. Like they just keep, you know, listening, and they get lost on it because I don't conclude, so they didn't get the point, and then they finish, and then I ask them, and they're like, I don't know, I just lost what, you know, you told me like half an hour ago. Yeah, I haven't really been getting what you said. So yeah, I think I kind of struggle with that, you know, especially, you know, starting stuff. Not only teaching, but starting stuff is really hard for me. Especially because, you know, if I don't know how to do, you know, something beforehand, it's especially hard because I kind of struggle to go gather, you know, the stuff that I need to have to do that, instead of going to do that what I want to do, you know, because if I need to do something that's going to be a bit harsh, and I need to have a little push, you know, maybe being pressured by someone else because we're doing like a teamwork, or being pressured by something else, but it's, you know, something external. I feel like when it comes to me, I don't tend to push myself so much to do that sort of stuff. I tend to push myself when it comes to identity, when it comes to people, not that.
That makes sense. Because your identity is the one that's masculine, not the feminine
Yeah.
one. Okay, so the interesting thing about your type is your two demons are the demons that never get concluded. So when you're talking to people, like you said, you never there's no point. You don't get to a point, and then your identity is also third is also a demon. So I guess coming to a conclusion for your identity is also tough. As a result, let's talk about your identity now, because like you're an ENTJ, and like that's like the biggest problem, like the FI in the bottom. The good thing about you though is you have it as double masculine, so that's gonna help you a lot. Because like as an EJ, that's already the hardest thing, and then if you have it feminine, that's even hard. So you have like an advantage, which helps. What have you concluded with your FI about your identity? Like who is Esteban in your opinion? Like who are you, and like what's important to you, and what do you stand for?
Yeah. I mean, about who I am, it's still kind of difficult to conclude, because I feel sometimes I can get like really insecure about what I am and who I am, especially if someone else questions it. Like if someone comes and tells me something that is either negative or goes against what I think I am, I'm probably going to get paranoid about it, and then I'll have to go to people and ask them, am I really this? I have to kind of have the reassurance to really feel like that person was only being a douchebag.
Right.
And yeah, about the other thing, I definitely have some stuff that I really stand for, and I have had experiences with friends that where I almost like completely cut the contact with them, because they were like, oh, I felt like they were disrespecting something I liked or something I really respected. So yeah, it's something that is completely necessary for me to for you to respect, because otherwise you're going to have a big problem. Yeah, because yeah, I can get really pushy, I can get really yeah, I can certainly have like a lot of rancor too in that sense, because for example, when it comes to friend groups, or Discord servers, or any sort of social media, when I had to deal with someone that had a very different opinion than mine, I usually tended to go get rid of them in some way. Like obviously, not in a very skimmishy way, but I tend to kind of not like them, and I'm going to make sure they know that I don't like them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate. Having FI also. So that's interesting. You I want to ask you about your IP swing. So you're an EJ, but EJs and IPs are pretty much the same depending on where you are on the swing. Just like IJs and EPs are the same, right? So like, as an EP, I'm naturally chaotic and I like to gather, but then I can also be controlling and I like to organize. So it depends on where I am, right? So when does your IP swing kick in, and what does it look like when you become like so EJ is like, definition of EJ is like, you want to kill yourself for the tribe, helping the tribe, always putting the tribe first. But if you do that too much, then you go the opposite, and it's like,
yeah,
it's all about me now. Screw you all.
yeah.
So like, when does that happen? What does it look like?
I gotta say that it's insufferable. Like not only for me, but I think for others too, because I feel like when I'm in an IP swing, I get especially sensitive. So any comment that I'm given, I'm going to probably go jump and go and assume that people hate me, and they're going to I'm going to assume that they're like personally criticizing or attacking me. So I'm going to attack back, and I'm going to get like distant from the people, and it's going to be really really bad. But the good thing about, I think, being more or less more balanced than the average EJ is that when something happens and I get the time to kind of reflect on it, I think I have some capacity of double decided, I think, after it has happened, because at that moment I get like really hot-headed, so I don't have I get like really overtaken by the situation, so I don't have time to think about the other person. But when it happens, and I get to cool down, then I have the time to really think and say, well, I can kind of get why this person did this, and I should maybe apologize, even though I really sometimes have some big pride, but you know, yeah, apart from that, yeah.
Okay, that makes perfect sense based on your type. So you have
Mhm.
like a very rudimentary double deciding, like very like it's slow, but it's there. Better than
Yeah.
the average EJ.
Hmm.
Let's talk about your tester and visual next, okay? So
Okay.
um let's go with the tester first, which is like smell. It's also with extrovert sensing, so it's like trying out different scents and different food.
Yeah.
You talk about like wanting to try different smell, like cologne or some scents or stuff, candles, what it may be, I don't know. And then also like food and stuff.
Hmm. Um, I think I'm especially, sensitive to smell because since I was like very, little, I have always been like really good at smelling stuff and recognizing what it is. And even at long distances, like I remember going, being at the door, below my house, and my mother was cooking something up in the kitchen, and I got like smell from there, and I said, "Well, my mother's is cooking like I think it was turkey with I don't know, especially cheese. I'm really good at detecting cheese and also wine, and when it comes to cologne, um." I'm not that nitpicky with my cologne, but when it comes to people, I think especially for the attraction I get to other people, um, I don't know, I just tend to fall for people who smell really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something kind of big for me. Despite apart from physical attraction or personality or anything else, like when someone it has a smell and it smells well, it's probably going to get in my head. I'm going to be able to recall that smell in my head. Like I
Oh,
can kind of recall the smell. Yeah.
well, that's cool.
Hmm.
Um, that's really cool. Maybe it's like yeah, definitely a tester thing. That's very good,
Yeah.
well described. Because like usually people talk about just the smell of food and stuff, but you talk about the people too. So um that's interesting. My girlfriend's a tester too. She's like she knows how I smell. So like it's like, yeah, okay, cool.
I know how everyone smells, especially the houses. I always go with I don't know. If I meet someone else or you try like a new cologne or something, I'm going to be like, this cologne smells like this with friends of mine's house. Yeah, it smells like that. Or
Oh yeah, you know what?
incense or yeah.
Yeah, you know how each of your friends smells like? Each friend has a
Yeah, they kind of have, each of them have a distinctive like smell. Yeah, I have to say like I have a tendency to kind of recognize it. Yeah, when I smell.
so if you ever go blind, you still know who your friends are. You're like,
Yeah,
this, this,
I'm probably going to know.
this. That's cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
what about visual? Talk about like, caring a lot about like the looks, aesthetics, that kind of stuff. Like, what's your take with that?
Yeah, I think in general, I'm kind of driven towards visual stuff, like stuff that is really that calls me, especially when the calls are vibrant or a palette or something like that. Especially when it comes to learning and teaching, um you know if I have like a support that is visual, like if I have some examples, I'm going to probably get that image stuck in my head, and that's going to help me um remember and learn. And because of me also drawing, my notes, my university notes are also all filled with drawings. So I perform better subjects that I can draw in. So for example, in maths, I fucking suck at maths, like for real. I don't know, I just can't do math. I'm a lot better when it comes to things like for example, history, or I don't know, I study philology, like English philology. So in things like literature, I do really well too, because I mean I can kind of use my NF sleep there too, because I'm really good at extending the text in metaphorical ways that don't even like make a lot of sense, but if you read it, like it would make sense to you. But you know, I I can get it as long as you want. Yeah.
That makes sense. I guess with the NF sleep, you can interpret it in like a more abstract,
Yeah.
deeper way.
Yeah.
Which I think is it's very good actually. All right, dude. I want to ask you about your FI tidal wave. What does your FI tidal wave look like, and like when does it happen? Like when it like your FI gets like really affected. You know, like some example would be like, do you ever get identity crisis? You know, or self-hatred or self-loathing. Do you ever experience any of those personally?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Sometimes, well, not sometimes, it's pretty often. I'd say I don't know if I'd say I had mood swings, but I definitely had my days. And you know, sometimes I'll just be really affected by something. Like for example, I'd say I'm especially sensitive to you know, to critics, and it's something that I'm working on currently too, because yeah, I'm kind of forcing myself to be able to swallow critics more you know, more objectively, so I don't take them as personally, because sometimes at them, you know, if someone mentions they don't like or something I like is bad or it's ugly, you know, I don't know, and if they hate it and they don't like give too much reasoning about it, or if someone says something about me or kind of indirectly reflects on me, I'm just going to really process it and think about it and overthink it. I mean, yeah, I'll have to talk it out in some way with someone, because I'll feel really bad about it. So yeah, and I'd say that I can get, you know, talking about tidal waves, I think I can get like really tired, and a burnout out of using I'd say play, because sometimes I don't know, I think I do play all day. Like I wake up and a way or another, I'm going to do play. Like I'm going to take my phone, I'm going to text to check all my messages, all my texts. I'm going to reply almost all of them, and then I go to the university and talk to my friends, and then in the evening I talk again, Discord and email and blah 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 blah. So yeah, I'm always doing some play, and yeah, I get to the moment that I really don't have the energy to do it anymore, and then I have to kind of go and I don't know. I wouldn't say sleep, because I don't like sleeping a lot. Like I don't really like sleeping, because I feel like it's kind of you know, a lot of time. I'd say a lot of time, but I know it's important. But I don't know, I just feel like I could be and I should be doing something else, which is I don't know, which I like more, which I need to do more. You know.
That makes perfect sense. I can relate, especially with the play sentiment that you were saying. I also lead play like you, so I get it. Like you get sick of using play, you just wanna get away from everyone and just be by yourself, do your own thing, right? So that totally get that. All right, dude. I think I asked you all the questions already. Is there anything that you want to ask me about before we wrap up this interview that you want to discuss before we wrap this up, or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's great. So let's wrap this interview up. So Esteban, thanks for coming out and you know, sharing more about yourself and what your life is like as an ENTJ blast. Double feminine too, because I think the stereotype for ENTJ is like, you know, general, you know,
I'm definitely not this stereotype.
yeah, like I'm the evil ENTJ. I don't even care about business.
Yeah.
You know, that's like the stereotype, right? But I think it's starting to turn out like that stereotype is actually the IPs. It's not even the ENTJs. So it's kind of funny that that stereotype is even in place when it's like just people getting mistyped.
Yeah.
By Briggs. So, anyways, man, yeah, thanks. Good
Yeah,
to have
thanks
you.
for having me.
For sure, man. Take care. Have a good day.
Take care.